Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
Oh, it is.
It's a swampy one.
It's the surface of the sun outside.
Yeah, if the sun had humidity.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little thick. I believe they call it thick.
They do. They call it that.
Thick. At least I'm calling it thick.
Yeah, but you know what's cool?
Our listeners?
Yeah, man, you guys are hitting it out of the ballpark.
See, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
They're cool.
Oh, yeah. And, they love the Sully Guitars episode.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very
John's
good.
a cool dude, man.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
He's so down to earth.
Yeah.
And,
got some history in the business. And,
yeah, he's coming out with some new ideas, going to be working with Grover Jackson.
That's pretty cool.
If you didn't catch the episode, man.
Yeah.
We won't spoil it for you.
No, I won't have to yell spoiler alert because we're not going to do it.
Exactly.
But, that was interesting.
Make sure that you go out to the ampsandaxescast.com.
I always do.
When you go out there, you're going to see all the social media, and there's an iTunes icon. When you click on that, make sure you go there and give us 5 stars.
5, not 1, 2, 3, 4, but 5.
Oh, we've had a couple people give us 2 and 3, and I'm like, really? Seriously? We asked you for 5. You can say whatever the hell you want.
Is it worth your time to give us only 2?
Well, here was the thing. The one guy gave us 3, and then he goes... He said that he goes, well, you guys just don't have your rhythm together. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? We talk the same all the time. This has never changed for 2 years. And then on top of it, at the end of it, he goes, but man, I really like the podcast. And I'm like, well, what the hell was that?
I guess that just means we're never going to have our rhythm together, Mick.
I guess.
And everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Well, here's some good rhythm. When you're out on the site, make sure you go right below the episode because our buddy up north,
Jason Seditas,
he has the
quick click.
There you go. So there's your time.
Doesn't get much more rhythmic than that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little angry.
It's okay.
You've
been up a long time.
I'm very tired, people.
Very tired.
But yes, when you go there, go on there, check all the social media, and do all that stuff. Here's something crazy today.
Wait.
Yeah,
forgot the banner.
The Amazon.
The Amazon banner.
Yeah,
you are tired.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you are.
We have that. We have the full banner back now.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
You click on that,
and even I can find it now.
Yeah. Now here's the thing: when you click on it, bookmark it, and if you don't want to go back through our website, they do it every time that you buy something from Amazon. You can just pull up the bookmark, and then you're boom. You're
right. It goes right back
there.
to the same place, and it's bang. It's us.
Yeah, man.
So yeah,
and we get a little kickback from the guy who's trying to build drones. That's how it works.
They have a brand new huge distribution center right around here.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Because they're taking over the world.
Oh man, crazy.
Today that we record this is July 13th.
It is, and you know what that means? It's Bart Walker's birthday.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, from Royal Southern Brotherhood.
Yeah, so happy birthday to him. And real quick, and I'll just search this while we're talking, but we did an episode with him.
We did.
Down at the
Ram's Head.
Yes,
and Ram's Head.
He what an amazing story. If you haven't heard that story that we did with him, he is just God.
I mean, great story. And the first time I saw him play, it's like, wow, I really like his style.
Yeah,
he really enjoyed his style.
He's like very unsung, and I'm trying to find this thing, and I apologize. But go to his webpage or go to his Facebook page. He posted something out there about his birthday today, and I'm not finding it. But anyway, there was a woman that she had passed away, and it was a friend of his, I guess.
Okay.
And I think she was like 34. And there's some, memorial set up for her. Okay. And he said, go to this. If you want to do something for my birthday, go to this. So just check out Bart Walker's Facebook page, and give him some love there. Yeah, because he's a great guy and
he totally is.
Amazing singer, amazing player.
Yeah,
guy can do it all, man. Kind of.
Yeah, a friend of ours, the Annapolis Blues Roots King, Dean Rosenthal, recently was in the hospital. And,
I heard this.
Yeah, and his niece, I think, put up a GoFundMe page, which got funded relatively quickly. Man,
good.
It was really, really good. But I hope Dean doesn't mind. I got to tell you this little story.
Go ahead.
I hope Dean doesn't mind me telling this. And I'm going to ask him, and if we got to edit this, we will. But I don't think so. He was at a gig with the rest of the band, 2 or 3 piece, depending on what he went out with. And they were playing, and he told the guys, he said, "Just not feeling good tonight, man. Just watch me. I'm just not feeling good." And Dean occasionally doesn't feel good. It happens to all of us. So he said, just watch me.
Okay.
So he said there are a few songs into the set, and he's just like, "I'm not here. Just not here." And then he got this punch in the chest. He's like, "That's not good." And he told me, and then I started feeling it down both arms.
Oh.
And he said, "I think I'm having a heart attack. I think I'm having a heart attack."
That's heavy.
Dean put his guitar down,
mm-hmm.
walked off stage, got in his car, and drove himself to the hospital.
Holy crap.
I'm kidding you not, man.
Wow.
I said, "You did what?"
It's a good thing he wasn't choking.
His band was still playing. Band still played. He's in his car driving to the hospital.
Reminds me of the Blues Brothers. You guys take us out.
Honest to God. It's a Blues Brothers episode.
Yeah, as he's going this escape hatch behind the drum set.
Right.
Oh, that's too funny.
"You did what?"
That's crazy.
He said, "Yeah." He said, "I heard that like the band, they finished up the song, they stopped, and everybody's like, 'Where is he?' And club owner went to look for him, and it's like, he just put the guitar down, got in his car, drove to the hospital." That is a blues man. That is a consummate blues man.
That is crazy.
And he's nuts.
Yeah.
But
because that could have ended a lot worse if you're not careful.
But he's doing well.
Wow.
He's doing well, and he was having a heart attack too.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, he really was.
A rough one.
I couldn't believe it when he told me. I said, "You did what?"
Well,
so there's
well.
There's a real blues story for you, man. Put the guitar. Band's still playing. Put the guitar down. Walk up, get in the car, drive to the hospital.
The only question I have is, why didn't the band guys go, "Where the hell are you going?" Hey, I'll be back in 5.
Maybe he thought, well, you got to go. He wasn't feeling good. Maybe he thought, you got to go.
Yeah.
We'll finish the song out.
10 minutes later, you're going,
right?
Is he still in the bathroom?
Is he done going? So I don't know, but I couldn't believe it. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that one. That one will go down for a while.
Yeah.
Oof, man.
The rest of the band's not going to forget that one. Wow.
Hey, got a little product review kind of / update.
Okay.
Yeah, so I bought
Tell me.
I bought these strap locks called Loxx, Loxx.
You were speaking of them?
Yeah, very high quality, made in Germany, I think. Pretty unique. Mm-hmm. Really a different type of a strap locking system.
Okay.
Right? I took them off the guitar, and I'll tell you why. They hurt. If you,
I was going to say they didn't work.
No, they work perfect.
Okay.
But there's like a ball bearing that it's a hardened piece of steel. This whole, there's no screw. It's threaded, so the whole thing is machined out of one piece of metal.
And you thread it into your guitar.
It's actually got a little wrench.
Okay.
And you turn this thing in. It goes all the way in. It's got a little rubber, little pad on it and everything. And I had them on the guitar. And if you run that thing across your body without the strap on it, it hurts like hell. I mean, it's like a ball bearing on the end of this thing.
Yeah, and
it's just this little tiny thing sticking out, man.
Because you don't have like a typical Strat or Les Paul would be. It would be on the upper bout.
It's not on the horn. No, it's on
right. You have an SG
right on the back of the neck,
and it's right behind the heel of the neck. Well, not the heel.
Well, it is basically
the heel. Yeah.
But I was like, man, this is where I see the design flaw. Because like just a regular strap post is not. It's not a. Think about it. It's like a high heel, right? You know, you put all that energy in one tiny small spot.
Right.
That hurts like hell.
Right.
It's the same thing.
And if you stand the guitar up on your leg,
yep, yeah,
the other one gets you.
Yeah. I had it a couple times. I said, that's it. I'm taking them off. So right now I have nothing, but I'm going to end up buying those little rubber washers that Fender makes.
Just do what everybody else does and gaff tape it onto the damn guitar. Jesus.
Well, now the big thing is you go to the hardware store, you get a freaking wood screw that's like 4.5 inches long,
right?
And you use like a 2.5 inch washer, and you just
permanently mount the strap.
Yeah, just screw the strap to the guitar. It's never to be removed again.
Right.
I can't do that. That guitar, even though
you can do the Eddie thing with the big old eyelet.
Yeah.
That's too pretty a guitar to do that
through
with.
that thin piece of mahogany.
If you did that on the one behind the neck, it would come through the fretboard. Yeah, so you don't want to do that.
It'd be fun stuff.
Fun.
One last thing, real quick, before we get to our guest. Mr. Greg Koch was on with Wildwood Guitars.
Okay.
They did a live Facebook stream the other day. And
God, he's got to be fun live.
And let me tell you, man, that dude, well, first off, that guy loves life, obviously. He is so quick-witted, and he just goes crazy. I mean, you would think he's certifiable sometimes when he's talking, because you're going, this ain't normal. It's something.
I want to interview his wife.
Yeah, just something snapped, right? And but my God, that guy, just chops for days, man, and it just the most tasteful licks. He can play anything. I mean, it's just bizarre how well he can play each style of whatever he's playing. But he had this 63 335. It was all natural and everything.
Wow.
And this thing was just amazing sounding. And he played a Black Beauty and it was just the same way. I mean, it was crazy, man.
Wow.
So I think it may be.
So they just handed him the guitars off the wall?
Yeah. And then if you ever see that place, it's just a sea of Marshalls, Fenders, old stuff, Dumbles. They got everything. He was playing through a Friedman, and then he had some other thing. It was you couldn't see them; they were off, off camera. But I was just like, "Holy hell, man!" And just he's just a card. The guy is just so quick with his humor, and then he'll just play this medley of 15 songs from Led Zeppelin back to back, right in the middle. Just keeps going all over the place. Really, really a neat player to watch.
He knows every riff under the sun, and then he makes ones up on top of that. It's endless with him. It's ridiculous. It's so cool.
If you ever see his band, I think his son is his drummer.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and I've been trying to reach out to him, and we haven't had much success. We haven't had any success, I should say. So if we could ever get him on, we'll get him on, because I'm sure he will be a really cool guest to have.
Yeah, I know. I'll reach through somebody. For him.
Oh, yeah.
Someone that recommended him in the first place.
Exactly.
So let me get in touch with him. So,
yeah.
But today we have something kind of different.
We're going on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Globe hopping.
We are going to use technology and pray that it works.
Right. Because we're.
Hang on, kids.
We're going to tomorrow. We're going in the way forward machine.
Yes,
now.
we are.
Yes, we are. We're going into tomorrow.
It is. What would they say? 7:00 tomorrow morning.
Yes, or
where we're talking
7, 8, something like that.
Yeah.
So
8. Yeah.
So while when our listeners hear this, it won't even be today. Yet for us, it's going to be tomorrow with this guy. So it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
But it's like not a player or a manufacturer or anything.
No.
It's someone that kind of does what we do.
Pretty much exactly what we do.
Yeah.
But he does it on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna ring up the other side of the world and talk to Matt Wakeling from Guitar Speak Podcast.
Hey, this is Sully from Sully Guitars, and when I'm in my garage building guitars and sweating my face off, I am listening to the Amps and Axes podcast. And damn it, you should too.
All right, and we are back, as promised, with our guest of the week, all the way from the entire other side of the globe, and then some, because I think there's like a 14-hour difference.
14 hours.
So it's a little more than halfway. So,
yeah.
But we're back with our guest of the week from Guitar Speak podcast on the other side of the globe, Mr. Matt Wakeling. Matt, how are you?
Hey, I'm great, guys. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Mick.
Hey.
Welcome to Australia this time of the morning for me, but evening for you.
True.
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
And occasionally both times require coffee, you know. So
That's true.
I was falling asleep on the way here.
But you got your Monster. You're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
You got the Monster.
Good. Yes.
All right. So
Cool. How's Baltimore?
Baltimore is good. Baltimore is. We described it at the beginning of the podcast as soupy today. It's
Soupy.
really hot and really moist.
So, imagine the hottest spot in Australia.
It's not that hot.
Yeah.
I doubt it's as hot as the desert. The desert's drier, but
You know what's crazy is I've read things about Australia, and you got a lot of critters or animals that are really dangerous.
Yeah, well, quite a few of them want to kill you. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they got some serious animals going on over there. It's like everybody's like, "Oh, Australia, it's so great and beautiful," and then you look at it and you're like, "They have lizards that grow to the size of you."
Well, yeah, a couple. Not wandering the streets though. Like,
No, that's good.
Not in the suburbs.
It's just the dingoes, right? Didn't a
deserts,
dingo
yeah.
snatch
You gotta
a
watch
baby one time or something?
oh
I
yeah,
read that.
was a while back. That was a long time ago.
It's still, you know what? It's still cool because they gave us Airborne and AC/DC.
Right?
Even though those guys are
AC/DC
Scottish.
first, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's somebody else too. I know I'll think of it.
Well,
eventually.
the band that the guys, the Vegemite sandwich guys. What was the name?
Oh,
of
right.
Men at Work.
Men at Work. Men at Work. That's right.
We could pass them. We really don't have to have that, but that was a big band.
That was a
came
period
out.
in time. That was good.
ABBA.
Early 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Huge here, obviously, and cracked it over there.
Yeah, and we got ABBA.
Actually, it's funny.
ABBA
I was
too,
this week, just a couple of days ago, I was talking to a good mate of mine, David Moyes, and he was the guitarist in Air Supply.
Oh wow!
Back in he played with them in their heyday. So he joined, I think, around 78, left about 84, and in that period, I think 79. That's when they cracked in America.
Yeah, about that time. Yeah,
and
so
Air Supply. Wow.
Yeah, there's a few bands that got there, but yeah, it used to be a big thing for Australian bands. Can we crack it in the States? And it was tough for a lot of them. I think the first ones were there was Little River Band. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Because later in their career, a good friend of mine, Tony Sciutto, played with them for a long time,
and he's pretty famous here in Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah, cool. Yeah, so there was those guys. This is sort of mid 70s, I guess. AC/DC was starting to hit, shortly after then, and there's been a little bit of back and forth. Probably we've got more from you than you've heard from us, I guess.
Well, you Frank Mbali is a shredder from Australia.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who invented sweep picking.
Absolutely.
True.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
he invented it.
I was just watching a video of his the other day.
Yeah, on Facebook.
Yes. Yeah.
That guy is amazing.
Yeah.
What he can do.
Yeah, definitely. He's from Canberra in Australia, which is the capital of Australia, but it's sort of, I wouldn't say in the middle of nowhere. It's sort of equally between Sydney and Melbourne, because when Australia federated, both Sydney and Melbourne wanted to be the capitals, so they thought, well, let's just create a whole new town in between, and that'll be it. But Frank's brother Nunzio, he had a guitar shop called Pro Audio in Canberra, and I think they were some of the first guys to import boogie stuff.
Wow.
And Warmoth as well. I bought a Warmoth neck off those guys back in I don't know, the early 90s or something.
Well,
I always wondered if it'd come with a free sweep picking lesson, but it didn't.
Well, our last guest, Sully from Sully Guitars, John Sullivan, he knows he knows Ken Wormuth, who of course is Wormuth Bodies and Necks and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where they all got their start.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
cool.
It was and now they're, you hear about all this ghost building and everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure Wormuth builds guitars or the parts for companies, and then they put their own label on it, because a lot of companies do that, when they
it's kind of built to their spec and things like that.
Yeah, and it's one off. You can't, they won't sell it to regular customers.
I do that with my speakers. I don't personally build my own speakers, but they're built to my spec, and I put our label on them. So
well,
cool.
especially certain things like that,
right?
It's like I'm doing this in my basement.
I'm machining frames.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, speaking of Sully, I love the interview last week. He's a good guy. Hey,
he is.
Yeah, we've had him on twice, and we met him at NAMM, and just a real fun guy to hang with, and he's quick. He's got a good sense of humor too.
Yeah, cool.
So have you ever been to the U.S.? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. When Sully was talking about NAMM, it sounds like he was sharing a booth with Ormsby Guitars.
Yes,
and they're an Australian company as well. They're from Western Australia, so right across.
Oh, look at that!
Nice.
And I was going to ask, have you ever been to the States?
No, the closest I've got was Guam.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
That's kind of close, but
4-hour plane ride. You
it's
get
a territory, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of your territories.
It is.
Yeah, that was as close as I got. I did some playing there. I think it was 98. I think went over there with did some youth music festivals and things like that.
Wow. So you are a player as well?
Yeah. First and foremost, I guess, started when I was around 11 years old, and been doing it ever since, which was a few years ago. No, I'm 45, so yeah, I've been doing it for a while.
Very cool.
Now, what got you into doing the podcast? Because
see, I always ask what got you into playing, but you went straight to what got you into the podcast. But that's cool.
Well, we can go back
how did that? Yeah, how did that evolve? I mean, yeah.
Which one?
The
Okay,
podcast.
I've loved radio for years. Here in Australia, and so I guess the last few years I've been getting into podcasts. Radio on demand, really, which is awesome. So, I've been listening to lots of stuff, lots of music stuff. I hadn't really got into guitar podcasts much, which is kind of weird because guitar is the big deal for me. I don't know, maybe I wasn't looking very hard, but I didn't find many that I liked. Some of them were just, I don't know, just grumpy guys, angry at something.
Everything?
Maybe.
Angry at everything? Yeah, I don't like those guys.
Yeah. It's like, let's talk about the fun stuff.
Totally.
Let's flip the coin. But, I heard when Jude Gold put out No Guitar Is Safe, I saw that somewhere online and listened to them. And then he gave you guys a shout-out, maybe second or third episode in. So I've been listening to you guys for about a year and loving it. I dug back through your back catalogue, which is amazing. You guys have been going for it's getting near 3 years or something. Hey,
2.5 years.
End of this year will be 3 years.
Yep.
Wow, man, that's cool. That's so cool. So
yeah.
I haven't really explained my podcast. I've so I guess listening to you guys, I thought, wow, there's a lot of guitar players in Australia I'd love to talk to and find out their stories. And I like your format and Jude's as well, really, when you get to talk long enough to someone to really, find out what they're about rather than just getting a quick snapshot. So, started that. We started up in April this year, so we're pretty new. I've just put out my 13th episode, and
cool.
Predominantly Australian guitarist, although there's been a bunch of international players I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks as well, that we're slowly rolling those interviews out. So it's been fun.
Cool.
It's been fun. I mean, honestly, I'm just talking to people I would like to talk to and just asking the sort of questions I would like to ask. And
I think that comes off. I think that comes off as the most natural and true,
Sure.
and most times interesting. Sometimes you'll get a hold of an agent and they'll go, okay, well, talk about the new album and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like it just turns out to be a canned interview, and you can find that anywhere.
Yes, you can,
and you're going to find it in 100 places when somebody puts out a new album, and it's a big artist. That same canned interview is going to be everywhere. We like to go, no. Okay, we know you got your new album out, and that's great, and we'll totally tout that, and so will 99 other people.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to talk about how you got to where you are now, and that makes it interesting for us, and I hope our listeners too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh wow, man! You're like Amps and Axes west.
Really west.
Really west.
Or east. Really east. I don't know which way.
But
if
you think about it though, we don't know, and it's so funny because even though the world is so highly connected, we only know the bands that really, really make it out of your country, probably the same way that you know the bands that come out of our country the same way.
Yeah, sure.
And, but there's tons of guitar players. Who was that band that we saw at the PRS experience, Jeff? What were they called? Something Mary?
Electric
Electric Mary.
Mary.
Oh, Electric Mary. Yeah,
yes.
We met and hung with those guys. What a great bunch of guys,
blast.
and they rock, man. Those guys
absolutely.
rock.
Yeah,
they're from Melbourne, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
the drummer's like a
guitarist. Jack Jones, was that the guitar player, or Erwin Thomas?
Oh man, it's been years.
It was 3 or 4.
Okay, it was probably Jack. Well, there's a guitarist in. I'm sure he was in that band. It gets confusing. His given name is Erwin Thomas, but he was in a sort of a pop rock band in the 90s called Southern Sons, and he was known as Jack Jones. That was his stage name.
Jones.
I'm sure he goes on his given name now, Erwin Thomas. And he is an unbelievable guitar player. Very, very cool. He, I'm sure he was playing in Electric Mary for quite a while, if not still doing that.
Yeah, that was an awesome band.
Awesome. I met him once, and just said, hey, I wanted to tell him how much of a great player he was and how much I like his playing, and straight away he just wanted to talk about Hendrix and have you heard the new Michael Landau album? And so that's cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, Landau's no slouch.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, he gets it done.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, a little bit. But
I want to ask you guys, I've got a theory. It's sort of related to that. Whenever I talk to great players, whether it's on a gig or some of the people I get to interview, it seems like the really good guys they're obviously really passionate about music, and they always want to talk about other players more than themselves. They always, there doesn't seem to be that sense of competition. There just seems to be a real joy in playing the instrument and sharing it, and wanting to talk about what they love and what they've gotten out of the instrument.
Well, I think once you get past, like if you're a younger player and you're just starting to break, a lot of them, there's a bit of ego involved, and there has to be a little bit in the beginning, if you want to just pump yourself a little bit,
sure.
Maybe you have to show yourself your own ego or something. But after a while,
they're kind of comfortable in their skin.
They are, and they really. How many people really want to talk about themselves 24/7? Because that may be enjoyable to someone else, but what's really enjoyable to them is to talk about the stuff that's enjoyable to them, and that's where their influence. They talk about their influences, and that where all that comes from, and giving props. And still enjoying what other people put out. It's once you get past a certain point, it's not all about you. It's about you didn't get here by yourself. There were people that helped you get here. There are people that you learned from, you were influenced from, you borrowed from to get here.
Yeah,
and give props, man. But
we've got a thing in Australia. It's called the tall poppy syndrome, and it's good and it's bad. But what it means is if someone gets too big a head, they get cut down by their mates or people who are not their mates. That whole thing. It's kind of good. It's kind of negative as well.
And what's it called again?
The tall poppy.
The tall poppy syndrome. So if a flower, if it gets too high, the others will cut it down to size.
Is that anything like LSD, the lead singer disease? Because that's worldwide.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
That's why it's not called amps, axes, and microphones.
Ouch.
Really?
Yeah, well, you know.
Hey, how about you guys? What started you guys off with your podcast?
Me and Jeff used to go to dinner all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely had the seed for this.
Yeah, so I was producing 2 comedy podcasts that are local.
Okay.
And I just saw, and I listened to a lot of podcasts, and then I saw the numbers that Adam Carolla was making, and I was like, "Ooh, there's something to this." So then my wife and I, we would go to dinner with Jeff and his wife, and we would just have these long conversations, and they always ended up just being what we do right now. And so then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I know Jeff doesn't know what a podcast is, but I'm going to throw it at him. So I came up with the whole, thing, and I said, hey, how about this? And he went, yes. And it was because it was the year of yes that you said.
Just say yes and figure out how to do it later.
So we did it, and it was January 1st of 2014. And
cool.
And it was like, hey, that went pretty good. And then we got
the first couple. It was just you and I, and then we figured, well, we'll
see if we can get a guest.
We'll have guests.
And then we got Matt Jones,
and
Jason Schroeder. They were very early on.
Right,
I think they were 1 and 2.
But it's like list. We can have the same conversation we have at dinner, and then throw a guest in there.
Yeah, and
it just kind of worked.
And it just rolled right along, and here we are.
Yeah, and
that's great. That's cool.
Yeah, there really wasn't any kind of format in the beginning, but I think after we had done it for a few episodes,
it just rolled.
It kind of organically grew into this kind of thing, this kind of format works. We'll do this, and then we'll bring the guest in, and then it turned into having its own format, and that's what we followed for a long time now.
Yeah. And we don't. There's been a couple people that have asked, like, you guys gel so good together. You have this thing. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, there's no magic stones. It's just the way we are. I'm more, I'm more from the metal side. Jeff is very classic rock blues oriented, and we just get along.
Yeah, it works
in that sense. We both agree on a lot of things, and then I have some knowledge on this side, and Jeff has a lot of knowledge on the other side, and then it just all kind of, that whole gap, I guess, is just kind of filled.
Right.
And that's kind of an important thing, because then we can talk to, like, the guy from Slipknot, and I know his stuff, not so much Jeff, but he knows who they are, because of me. And then we'll talk to some guy that I'm like, who is this guy? and
but I know him.
And then there's, Jeff knows him, and then I see this history of this guy, and I'm like, oh my God, And so that's the one thing too that we try to do, is not so much the actual mainstream guys, but the guys that are kind of like with maybe the mainstream guys, or just musicians that are working, and that seems to work pretty good too, because
hired guns have a lot of stories, and
sometimes they have more stories.
People behind the scenes have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
So that
I loved. I've loved heaps of your episodes. There was one. I forget the guy's name, but he teched on the Ringo Starr tour, and I think it was Niels Lofgren's tech.
He was.
Well.
That's John Gosnell. Yeah, it's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I mean, how awesome was that? Hearing what a tech does, and all that behind the scenes stuff. That was super cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We know a couple of well, Jeff knows a lot of those guys, but because of what Jeff does, and it's always interesting, because a lot of times, a lot of artists don't even know. They're like, no, this is my number one, and then they go, hey, Bill, what's in it? They don't even know what kind of pickups are in it.
Right.
What year is that? It's a lot of that, and unless it's a Joe Bonamassa or somebody that's a real gear oriented guy.
Sure.
But a lot of these guys, they just don't know. They're like, well, I don't know. Ibanez designed it. I approved it, and here it is.
Yeah, right.
You know.
So Matt, you were playing for a while. How long did you play? And you obviously were doing some touring. What's your musical background? And is there anything other than a musical background for you in this industry?
Yeah, well, to work backwards, my day job, I'm a high school music teacher, so there's music all day long. It's me teaching it. That's all. So that's what I'm doing these days. I've been doing that for about 8 years, and I love it. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's cool. You meet some great kids, and yeah, just getting people making music together is great. So I still play. Yeah, it's a semi-professional sort of level. So I do cover bands and wedding bands. I play at my local church, which is great. I do an ambient solo sort of thing sometimes. I haven't done lots of that lately. So bits and pieces. A mate's post-rock record, I'm doing a little bit of tracking on that at the moment. So bits and pieces. Most of my my paid gigs these days are like covers and functions.
Well, functions pay well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
And there's usually good food as well, which is always good.
Exactly.
Now,
a friend and I were measuring whether you take the gig based on so many things, like can you get your gear into the venue easily? Is there good food? Is the cafe still open at 1 a.m. when you've got 3 sets to go or something?
Absolutely.
The extra musical factors can roll in. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. But started playing when I was just starting high school. It took me a long time to get through Happy Birthday. But once I started working at AC/DC tunes, which are not rocket science, but yeah, that was good. I sort of felt like I was getting somewhere when I started learning songs and just got into it. I started, when I mentioned church music, the church I went to had lots of professional and semi-professional musicians that would be playing alongside, the weekend warriors like me who were just sort of joining in. So I got mentored by some really, really great players. David Moyes, I just mentioned, the Air Supply guy, he was one of those. I worked as a music director in a large church for about 10 years, which was great. When I say large church, it's like, like a 1,000-seat auditorium with a nice PA and a good team of musicians. So that was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm rocking the church this weekend, man.
And that's it's kind of enlightening to hear, because I have a lot of clients that play in their churches. House of worship, whatever they call them. But it's really a big thing now.
Oh yeah, my neighbor's brother is a piano player. He plays for 4 churches.
Oh my goodness,
that's his salary. Wow. That's how he makes his living.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, because they pay him to come in because it's a no-brainer, right? He doesn't even have to learn the songs. He just comes in and plays them.
Well, if he can read, you don't have to learn.
And he was a teacher.
They pay for rehearsals.
Yeah,
they pay for rehearsals,
and it's tax-free.
Well,
in America.
I don't
know about Australia, but in America it's tax-free.
Right.
Okay.
It's a charity.
Yeah, cool.
Wow.
Matt's going to get on a plane.
We're going to go play churches in the U.S. now. That's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to when Jude Gold interviewed the guy from Snarky Puppy. Is it Mark Lettieri or someone?
I think so. Yeah.
The fusion-y kind of guy. Yeah. He was talking about playing in churches. So he was busting out some of the gospel riffs that we play in some of the tunes here as well. So that was kind of cool.
Wow.
That.
Well, who is this slot?
At my church, it's pretty. It's gone a bit serious. I mean, in a good way. Like we've just moved our amps off stage, which is a good or a bad thing, depending on your.
You got in-ears?
Yeah, we're running in-ears now.
That's a
which
production.
is awesome for having a good mix on stage and having a good individual mix. We're running these Allen and Heath mixes, individual mixes, which is cool. Yeah, the guitar players, we do miss the wind rushing from our amplifiers and ruffling our trousers.
The wind beneath your knees.
Yes, exactly. But we're finding ways around that. So the good news is if your room's off stage somewhere, you can turn it up to 10 or 12 or wherever it goes to and get it working that way.
Now, they probably have video production there too, right?
At our church, lots of video production.
That's a big church, man.
Lots of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I'll play a gig on a Friday or a Saturday night and get paid well for it. And I'll just rock up with my amp, and it might get mic'd up, it might not, depending on the venue, and we'll just smash it out. There might be a sound guy. We might be doing it ourselves. Mm-hmm. I get to church Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. We're running maybe 4 or 5 songs, and we'll spend time just getting them really tight. And the sound out front's really, really great. And
wow,
it's just a different thing. It's funny turning up to church before in-ears, because my amp from Saturday night would be stupidly loud, and then then I'd play it Sunday morning. I'd be, was I that loud that last time? That's not cool.
Well, that's when you need 2 amps, one for the gig and one to stay at church. And,
or you have to compete with that giant organ.
Well, if there may not be one, and a lot of churches don't have them. They just have bands now.
The one I belong to has one of those ones.
A pipe organ, or
yeah. Well, they get a lot of money. So they can afford a pipe organ.
Well, then the gospel thing. I mean, there's Hammonds, and
who was the guy?
Hammond thing,
Who was the
Robert Randolph?
Robert Randolph. His whole family.
Oh, absolutely, came out of the church.
Came out of the church.
Oh yeah.
That dude has a wah-wah on a pedal steel guitar.
Oh yeah.
How bad is that?
He's not the only
dirt
one.
Boxes too, man. That's
so
great.
Yeah, there's another kid. I call him a kid. He's probably in his 20s or 30s. I don't know. But used to turn up at the jams in Annapolis that I used to play with Dean back in the day at the Whiskey.
Uh-huh.
And steel player like Robert Randolph. His whole family's out of a church, kind of thing. It's like, and this guy's just smoking it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it was so good.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So did that for a while. When I was working at the church, though, I supplemented my income by doing gigs and teaching. So I was teaching up to 80 students a week at one stage, and
whoa,
yeah, loved it, and I guess that's what slowly moved me into the classroom. And that's
very cool.
You say, okay, so classroom. I have to ask you. I know here in the States, everybody's always trying to put music back in the schools because of budget cuts and everything. It's one of the first.
Gone.
Yeah, it's one of the first things that went, and it's a skeleton of what it was.
Yeah.
How is it there? Is music something that's readily available in schools, and kids take advantage of it?
Yeah, for the most part. For high school in Australia, music's compulsory for the first 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So you have to take music for the first 2 years, and then for the last 4 years, it's an elective. So it's whether you want to do it or not by then. Most schools have a music program and a resource, I guess, to different degrees. Some schools have got great resources, others, are struggling, and so in terms of, say, equipment, musical equipment might not be a huge priority. I guess it really depends on the school's budget. Where I am, we're doing okay. We've just moved into a new music room building with rehearsal rooms and stuff, which is really cool. And we've got some all right gear. We've got a bunch of guitars for sure, and band stuff. So it's I guess it does depend on the school budget. But the arts do get a hammering now and then. Where I went to university to study music, that course went through a lot of cutbacks, and I think just now it's just starting to grow a little bit again. So the arts, arts are often the first to lose the money when it's being handed out, for sure.
Absolutely. But it's it's so important. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I think back in my life, and I always had friends that were, doing recreational drugs, and some of them got in trouble with the law, and that kept me out of that realm.
Well, how did music keep you out of drugs?
Yeah, well, when you know how it is, man.
It's almost like it's mandatory.
Yeah, but when you're 20, when you're 13, and you want to learn how to play all the Judas Priest songs, you spend all your time in the bedroom.
That's true.
When they're out, throwing railroad spikes at cars.
That's not fun. That's not fun.
Yeah. There's some sort of discipline that keeps you out of mischief.
No, absolutely.
If you're trying to get the chops together, for sure.
It is a discipline, and it's sad to say, I think it's one of the only things anymore that evokes a positive emotion. You know what I mean? It's
sure.
like, you
yeah.
If you understand that you feel music, and I think so much of the world is void of feeling. I don't want to get into a theoretical conversation here, but it's
but it's true.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing. At least it should be.
Music is, what is it? Music is the one thing that actually doesn't need any interpretation, right? No matter where you live.
Right.
Right? So you could take some cat out of Russia that can't speak a lick of English, but you turn him on to anything musically, and he'll start tapping his foot.
I don't care what the instrument is.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Right.
A kazoo.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, well, something like
but
that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's the cool thing about it. It's universal. I mean, it's how our hearts beat.
Right.
Except for
absolutely.
EDM.
And I think when you do that, when you play music with other people, it forms an incredible bond, or can do, and sense of community and family and all that stuff. When you're making music with your friends, it's pretty exciting. There's nothing much else like it.
That's absolutely true,
Yeah,
and you don't know that until you experience it.
Yeah, those things are pretty crazy. I mean, there's certain things in life that you always remember.
Yeah.
And I remember like some of the first bands when that thing would happen, and you were all on.
That's cool.
Like everybody was on. It was almost like, holy crap! All this stuff just paid itself off.
I mean, the smiles don't get any bigger.
Yeah.
They can't get any bigger,
Yeah,
and it's everybody's feeling the same thing, and
Yeah,
it's positive, and it's
crazy energy.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Can't
too.
do
It's
that with a
energy.
computer.
No.
So how did you guys get into playing and stuff? And Jeff, maybe about how you got into amps as well. I've heard the episodes where you guys talk about Buddha and then East amps. But yeah, how did you guys find your way in there?
Well, I started I started playing when I was in grammar school. Really, I actually started drums, guitar, drum. Okay, that's a lie. My first instrument for just a tiny bit was accordion.
Well, there you go.
And then it was drums, guitar, and I guess I found a pair of drumsticks before I ever found drums, and I was beating on chairs and tables, and my parents went, "We got to get you the proper things to beat on." So I got an old it was a Ludwig or Slingerland or something kit that I wish I had, because
only things that existed back then.
I know, but I wish I had it because it was wood with wood rings. And I mean, the real deal. I don't know what it would be worth nowadays, and I don't know where it is, but got that, and then I decided I wanted to play guitar for a bit, so got the beginner's guitars and all that kind of stuff.
Now, was it the Beatles?
Yeah.
Was that the thing?
Yeah.
Wow,
that's funny.
That was and well, actually it was the Beatles, but all that happened, like there were three bands that happened on like the Ed Sullivan Show so closely together. It was the Beatles, the Stones, and the Dave Clark Five.
Okay,
like within weeks of each other, and it's like, and there was this, all of a sudden, there was rock.
Yeah,
there was rock.
There was guitar manufacturers.
Forget not showing Elvis below the belt. There was rock.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That was I'm another one that's it was the Beatles thing.
Wow.
But I just
like the Ed Sullivan Show. Did you?
Yes. Yeah,
you don't sound old enough to have seen that.
I am.
Okay. That's cool.
I am. I remember distinctly watching that every Sunday.
That's pretty neat, man.
Yeah, but it's it just kind of went from there, and my dad was a musician. He played accordion. He was Polish.
That's where the accordion came
right.
from.
He was Polish, so he played accordion.
That's a hard instrument to play, actually.
It really is.
Yeah,
it really is.
Because you got keys on one side, you got
and buttons on the other.
Yeah, and then you got to do the squeeze.
Right.
Yeah.
Squeeze box. Yeah,
exactly. But
and they're kind of big if you're a kid trying to get around one of those.
Yeah. Well, they make smaller ones too, and
Yes.
it was kind of between if I remember correctly, kind of between a squeeze box and a full size accordion, But my dad, it's probably a student, like a 3/4 guitar or something,
exactly,
Right?
Yeah, sure, of course.
So I did that, and playing in high school bands and all of that, and at the same time, I got interested in electronics, and I started taking things apart. Around the house.
The toaster has flames coming out of it again.
Oh, good, that it worked. So I just started messing with electronics, and the two eventually went together. Like I would make a speaker cabinet with more speakers in it for my amp and things like that. And my grandfather was a woodworker; he would make me the cabinet for it. And
brilliant!
It was awesome. it was a lot of fun, and I wound up going to school for electronics. And
find that today.
Well, you can,
but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
well, that was tubes too, wasn't it, or was it transistors?
Actually, no. This was. Okay, they're replacing tubes with these things called transistors. So we're going to learn all about that. And then they're starting to develop these things called ICs, integrated circuits, but we're not going to worry too much about those now.
Holy crap, you were right there.
That's how far back.
That's a nice little crossover.
That's how far back I go.
Yeah.
So
Jeff, was everyone freaking out over the ICs, over having a little chip with a whole bunch of things going on?
I imagine so, and in the beginning, if I remember correctly, they were more of a binary thing, like more ones and zeros and counters and flip-flops and gates and AND gates and OR gates and NAND gates and NOR gates and things like that. Yeah. So it was before you could even do a lot with them audio-wise. A couple of years later, I mean, all that broke loose, and there were audio chips all over the place. There's a tiny little chip you could get, a full 2 watts of audio out of, and that was like,
mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing, yeah. So, we
cool.
I got into all of that kind of stuff, went to work in the electronics industry, and, working on my own amps, playing music, and then people ask you if you could work on their amp, and sure. Then, hey, could you modify this? And you start learning more about it. You modify it, and then, then all of a sudden it turns into you're building amps, and then somebody sees the amps you build, and hey, let's start a company, and you start a company, and then it turns into this and that.
Yeah,
and,
wow.
It's just how many years later I am where I am now, but it's the two got tied together, and thankfully so. Because I can build an okay amp, and I can play a little bit of guitar to know what it sounds like. So I think the two worked out,
Yeah, I think it's a humble answer. He plays guitar really well, and he builds awesome amps.
Well, whatever. But that's, it was just such an organic, natural progression. It wasn't like I'm going to set out to do this.
Yeah.
It just everything morphed together organically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way it was for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Jeff, you're known as one of the first guys to bring in low wattage tube amps, aren't you?
True. When we right before I started Buddha with my partner Scott, who was always on the left coast and I was always on the right coast, he had gotten a hold of an amp that I built for a little company around here, and they just wanted a small amp to sell because they were one of the first companies to sell vintage coverings and grill cloths and knobs and things like that. And they say, well, let's sell a vintage looking amp. So they had me design a vintage looking amp, and the cabinets, for whatever reason, were being made 3,000 freaking miles away in Northern California, and I have no idea why they had them made there, but they were being made there, and one of the amps wound up out there, and the friend of the cabinet maker, Scott, went, wow, who is this guy? These amps, sound great. So he said, let's start a company. We started the company. I did a bunch of modifications on the amp that I was building for this little company, and all those modifications turned into the flagship of Buddha, which was the Twin Master 10, and it was just an 18-watt amp that sounded like a 50, but you could open it up, you could push it, you could get the output tubes really cooking.
You could.
Sounded great, and we said we're going to build this 18-watt amp, and I would tell people, "Oh man, I got this great amp. You got to hear it."
I remember when you told me, I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." What?
Yeah, I got this 18-watt amp. You got to hear it, and all these people are going, "Yeah, but I play live." It's like, no, you got to hear this. And they're looking at me like I have three eyes, going, "We all play 50 and 100-watt amps."
Meanwhile, I'm dropping off my 100-watt Mesa, and I'm going, what?
Yeah, and people looked at us like we were selling something they didn't know what to do with until they heard it.
Yeah.
Once they heard it, it was like, wow, we can turn this up, and it sounds really big, and it responds like a big amp sounding, when it's turned up,
and you throw a pedal in front of it.
And
it really gets nasty, and
it was kind of a revolution.
That's awesome.
That's
so cool.
And that's where 5 years, everybody looked at us like we were crazy. 5 years later, everybody was building 18 and 20-watt amps.
I remember when it came out, and you were modding my dual rectifier, and I just thought to myself, who in the world would ever want this? Right? Like, I was just like, who? I mean, literally, you were so far ahead of what the club scene was going to dictate that it was like, I was like, I don't understand. I was like, yeah, if I want to play in my bedroom, I understand this 8. And then I went to your place, and you said, listen to this thing. And I was like, holy crap. It was so loud. I remember it was shaking itself. Like, I don't know if the tubes were rattling. Something. I remember you had a demo in, and it was like coming apart. I was like, oh my God, this thing is loud. And then you slaved it into this monstrous Sun or acoustic amplifier.
So whatever.
I think it was an acoustic amplifier. And I was like, this whole room is going to destroy itself. I mean, because it was some crazy wattage transistor head that you had there. Right. And I was just like, I really like this, but I just dropped $1,700 on this other thing.
See, Mick, if this 18-watt tube amp isn't loud enough, you could always make it louder by plugging it into any kind of power amp
you
that
were
you have.
Shove it into the board.
Yeah. So so that's how that happened.
Yeah.
Cool. I got a Fender Blues Deluxe when they first came out, and they were 40 watts with the single 12, and it was still too loud. And a friend of mine said, why don't they make a 20-watt amp or a 10-watt amp? And I'm like, no one's going to make a 10-watt tube amp or a 20-watt. Oh man! But I'm glad you did, Jeff. And yeah, like you said, so many people are doing that now. It's the rigueur, but to have a low wattage amp somewhere in the line for these people. Hey, I think Fender have just put out, is it a 14-watt or a 7-watt basement or something?
That's funny.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
And it's a lunchbox head,
Could be.
Sure, yeah.
But, I mean, it does happen sometimes that you'll get something over there that we'll never see here.
Yeah, sure.
It does happen. So I don't know how often it happens, but I know it happens. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. What's the band you play with, Jeff?
I don't have a band that I'm constantly with, but more and more lately I've been playing with a friend of mine called Rob Fahey, and it's Rob Fahey and the Pieces. And Rob used to be with a band called the Ravens back in the 80s, and they had a big hit which was also in the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, called Raised on the Radio.
Yes.
Cool.
And I play with him a lot. I play with my friend whenever I can, kind of a blues roots king in the Annapolis, Maryland area, Dean Rosenthal. I've also played with and had a project with John Palumbo from Crack the Sky.
Yes.
Which
cool.
A lot of people may not know, but if you don't know Crack the Sky, you've got to check out their material. I saw them back in right after they broke in 1976. I saw them.
Wow.
And it was a concert in Baltimore.
I remember this.
It was Crack the Sky, Boston, and Foghat.
And you said once you saw Crack the Sky,
I could have left. I knew I was never going to see anything like that at that show or anywhere else. And that was when Boston was just coming up too, and Foghat was the headliner.
Wow. Cool.
And yeah, it was. If nobody there knows Crack the Sky, you've got to check their stuff out. And John Palumbo and I are good friends, and he did a project a while back that he invited me to play with, and it was it was a one-off. We just did a couple of gigs, reinterpreted stuff that he had already reinterpreted, and it was a room full of drop jaw people. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So and I'll sit in with a bunch of other people whenever possible.
That's great.
So
and you're of course running East Amps as well.
Yes, and we just revealed the new Duality series that I have coming out now. We're putting the Venue series to bed for now. We're bringing out the new Duality series, the most versatile thing I've ever done, and it comes in a 20, 30, 40, and 50 watt version. So a little something for everybody. That's really funny. I just had an Australian distributor contact me.
Well, look at that.
Oh, really?
That's how timely.
Yeah.
Wow. So
that's cool. Oh well, hopefully that gets on board, and we'll give it a plug down here. And I'd love to check them out. I've seen some of the videos, the NAMM videos and stuff, and they look awesome.
We're still waiting for the Premier Guitar video to come out. We're revamping the website right now, and as soon as we do that, we're going to start adding some new video content for the new series.
Very cool.
And Mick's going to help me with that because I still have to figure out how to properly record these things to get something I'm happy with. So I want it to be better than anything out there. So.
And we can do
great,
that.
Man.
Yes,
man. Really looking forward to hearing that, and that's great.
Yeah. I don't know that we're going to pursue Australia for at least another 6 months or so, but hopefully,
sure.
and maybe Mick will get in touch with you.
Yeah.
When we do that, so you can
absolutely.
let your friends know that it's going to be headed their way.
Cool, man.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. How about you, Mick? You're the metal guy. What metal were you metaling?
Well, it's funny because my first influence was a Marine band that came to my elementary school, and the guy had a 70s Telecaster. I remember seeing the big lettering on the headstock. Mm-hmm. And he just got like a 5-second solo, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. I want to play music. And it was
that's all you needed.
It was some band thing, right?
Wow.
And so, but I started on drums. I was like 8 years old, and I played drums for, it was just marching band stuff. It wasn't anything, it was just getting rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, my sister had Kiss Alive. And see, this is where the whole thing changes, right? It's a second generation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Second generation.
So this kid that lived around the corner from me, he was really in. His older brother was a rock and roller guy, So he had like all the Kiss albums, and he had Rush, and I just remember seeing a lot of these albums, but the Kiss thing was the thing, It was like it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It just was, and it was bigger than life.
It was rock, but you're right. It was bigger than life because it was theatrical.
Yeah, it was very theatrical.
Yeah,
And so then I get my first guitar, and it's the whole learning curve, and I lived way out in the country, so I didn't have friends. There was nobody really to sound off of. Of course, there was no internet. The library was like 25 miles away. It was just ridiculous things like that, right? But my buddy Steve Hartley, and I've mentioned him on this show many times, he moved into the neighborhood, and he was a drummer, but he was also a piano player, and he had a great ear. So he started teaching me how to listen and figure the stuff out.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
And so then, then Judas Priest came out, and that was it, man. I mean, and the reason was because there was a lot of guys that I'd listened to, I had Alice Cooper Killer's album and Ted Nugent albums, and of course Pat Travers.
Mm-hmm.
Van Halen was so off of the chart, I didn't even approach it, at that time. But then,
do you recall hearing Eruption for the first time?
Yeah. Well, Steve got the album, and when we heard it, I remember we both looked at each other and we were like, "This is all going to change. This is something crazy. We don't even know what this is."
That had to be for you, like me hearing Hendrix for the first time.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Yeah, it's like this is not of this world.
No, And Hendrix was like this. Nobody had a Hendrix album. Nobody in my neighborhood. So I didn't get turned on to that until I was well into high school.
Okay.
And then my buddy Nick Mathutis, who he had all the because of his older brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. he turned me on to Allman Brothers Mountain and all that. And I was like, there's even more? You know, it was just crazy. But I really had this whole thing with the metal scene. Mm-hmm. It was just this thing. I don't know why. So, you know, I did 1,000 garage bands, you know, and it was tough because where we lived, there was just you had to drive 30 miles to go play at a club.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't anywhere around the corner from you. So it was all these high school years.
And you weren't driving. Your parents were driving.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it was all these high school years and, you know, just bands, garage bands and playing at like parties and stuff like that. Right. And it was very difficult finding guys that were like serious. So then after high school, you know, I found some guys and it was work, man. It just kept rotating. It was really tough. But that last, you know, thing, I found some guys. We ended up getting a couple CDs, and we were out there shopping it around. But cool. You know, like life is, man. It just one guy just flakes out, and when you got a 4-piece band, it's quick to end right then. You know, and it was so much work. And then I had 2 kids,
right?
And I had already had an established career in IT. Yeah, I just had long hair. And and it was just this thing that I was like, well, you know what? I got to park this because I got kids.
Just put it to bed for now.
And that's what I did. And then, as you know, I just stayed involved. Mm-hmm. You know, but now I work this whole computer side in with this cast and the website stuff and all that, and it just keeps me connected that way. And I don't lose sleep too much when playing out or anything.
And you still play, we can still talk. So,
yeah. I still play, and I record to the computer and stuff like. And I still have a drummer that comes over, and we get together and we jam, and just to keep chops up, you know.
Yeah, cool.
Maybe one day I'll go back out there and do that thing. I really liked the studio more than I did playing live. Believe it or not.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I felt very comfortable in the studio, and I think it's just because of the whole world that I live in with this.
Probably.
Yeah. And it was interesting to me because it was like, how can we take this thing even... Because, you'd hear it coming out of the cabinet, and you were like, how are you going to make that sound like that again?
Yeah.
Because that's a very hard thing to do.
It is.
You stick that microphone there, and you go, that sounds nothing like what's coming out of that other room.
That. Right.
And that's a art within itself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Matt, you were saying that the computer that you use to do this, you just use for. I thought you said music. Do you record stuff yourself?
Yeah, bits and pieces. I do. Like I mentioned, I do an ambient project, like a solo ambient sort of looping thing. So yeah, I record that at home. I have recorded some band stuff previously, but mostly it's like demos, and my kids are using it now, and that sort of thing. But it's like a 13-year-old version of Cubase, which because I haven't been on the net with this computer, it's just running pretty much flawlessly, and so I've just gotten used to that. I sort of haven't upgraded it or whatever, but still recording bits and pieces, on there. There's a project I'm working on at the moment. There's a Sydney band called Palaces, and it's like a post rock sort of a band, and the guy who really drives that's a drummer called Mike Quigley, fantastic musician. So he writes all the parts, he charts all the parts, and we've been tracking some parts for that recently. So that's been good fun. That's not at my place. We've been working in some other studios, but that's been good fun too. Yeah, so I totally love the whole recording thing too. It's a lot of fun.
Cool, very cool. Do you? How is the recording situation there? Do you guys still use amps, or is it all software? And does it vary a lot? I mean, it varies a lot here.
Oh,
yeah, that's a great question. Some of the guys I've talked to are big session guys here in Sydney and Melbourne. My first interview was a mate of mine called Michael Dolce, and he's been in the house band for The Voice, the Australian version of The Voice, and he does a lot of touring and stuff. Peter Northcott, probably one of the most recorded guys in Australia. A lot of those guys are using amp effects, using the fractal stuff for the studio. Because a lot of the studios here, and I guess it's all over the place. A lot of the big studios are not running anymore. And if you add to that, for the session guys, they're just trying to get in and out, get the job done quickly and efficiently. So there is a lot of that. A lot of like digital amping going on here for sure. It was by accident. The first 3 electric players I interviewed were all fractal endorsers. I didn't even know. I knew for one of them. I said, "Tell me about your amps," and they point to the rack. And really, on the recorded stuff, these guys are pulling great sounds. So yeah, there's a fair bit of that stuff going on. Michael Dolce, he's, like I said, he was my first guest. He's such a great fusion guy. When he's doing small gigs, he'll always take an amp. When he can, he'll always use. He'll always have an amp. He's working on a signature amp at the moment. But for The Voice, that's all in-ears. So he just uses his Axe effects there for the recordings he does during that season. As they're releasing singles and things, that's all the amp effects stuff too. So there is a lot of that. But most guys will say, if they can, not everyone, but if they can, they'll get a big amp and crank it up and stick a mic in front. That's still that's still a lot of fun for people.
And if you own one of those Axe effects or an 11 rack or a Kemper or anything like that, they have you can bypass and go into a cabinet. You can actually run the amp emulation out to the house and run a signal through a cabinet and actually push air.
Yeah.
And it will have a somewhat of an emulation. It won't have as much, I think, if I'm right. I may be wrong. But I think the emulation that happens through the cabinet is not, or could be something completely different than what's going out front of house, because when you emulate an amp sound, you really want to have a flat speaker. And if you run it through like a Marshall 412, it's not going to sound like what you...
Oh, absolutely,
Because that's the whole thing.
Well, see, that's why they're making those
monitors,
the full range monitors now for guys that do that and play through the Axe effects or Kempers or play through their computer. All that kind of stuff. They're sending the same thing to that full range wedge,
so they
that
can
they're
hear
listening to
the modulate the model
that they're hearing that they're sending to the house. And it's
to me it's weird.
Sure.
It is
because a stereo speaker
like you said,
does
there are
things.
different stages. Peter Northcott, he used to run the Axe effects into a Hughes and Kettner tri-amp, but he would just run it into the power section, and then out of the power section he'd run that into a guitar 212. So he was using, for live, he'd use the digital, pretty much the preamps and the effects, I guess, but from the power amp on, it was an all analog signal, and he was digging that. I think he's just gone all digital, though. I think he's gone to the full range monitors and a digital amp, like in the last few days even. I just saw on Facebook. But there's lots of guys who are kind of splitting it, between the digital and the analog thing. And others going full range.
What was it? Steve Vai the other day on Jude Gold's podcast? He said that he uses the Axe effects for the effects.
For the effects, and a lot of guys do that.
I'm like, Jesus, that's an expensive piece for
that's
some
a hell
pedals.
of an effects processor, right.
I'm like, holy crap, it's a couple grand.
That's using a full computer to make a couple of effects.
Yeah,
for sure.
But,
full on.
Although,
if you think about it, he was busting up the Eventide. Was it the H3000s back in the day? And they cost you an arm and a leg too. So.
Let me tell you, Steve Vai single-handedly made that company what it is. I'm not kidding you. Nobody had those things in any rack. And then he come out with it, and it was like they could not make them fast enough. And now they have a pedal version that does.
Yeah, because I think the Eventides, that equipment started out as like signal processing.
Yeah,
kind of.
It was
gear.
just a harmonizer.
Yeah,
a very sophisticated
stuff.
Yeah, very sophisticated harmonizer. But that's what he used it for. Now they have a thing called the H9. I saw it the other day. Yeah. That is a full blown palette of effects in a very small format that you put on the stage. It's like a stomp box. Very expensive. And when you buy this thing, it's all software driven. So you hook the pedal up to your laptop and you go into the parameters and adjust it as according. It got very good reviews at the NAMM shows.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm seeing them more and more pop up on pedal boards for sure. A young guy I know's got one, and he's telling me about it. He goes, I haven't downloaded the Spring Reverb yet.
Yeah, because if you buy...
I'm like, what?
If you buy these packages, it opens the pedal up more.
Yeah.
You can buy like a basic version or this ultimate version.
Right.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's what they don't have to put everything in the pedal. It's just kind of it's the tool.
Yeah.
That you then buy what you need for. It's,
when the EMP hits, don't worry. All that'll stop working, and it'll be right back to wah-wahs.
I'm still going to be playing my tube amp.
Still
going to be playing my tube amp.
It'll still work.
That's right.
Cool. Jeff, you're at Summer NAMM, and I know you were both at Winter NAMM. Was there anything you're interesting you guys saw at those shows?
Well, when you exhibit at NAMM, you rarely get a chance to see anything else.
Sure.
NAMM.
So you're on the job, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the job. That's and it was kind of a busy weekend, and thankfully it was a short NAMM. Although the extra Sunday is usually when people get a chance to bust out of their booth, and it's like, okay, well, you hold the fort down for an hour. I'm going to go take a look around and see things. But I really didn't have a chance to get out and see much of anything. So
you see more guitar manufacturers and amp manufacturers, and you go, where are these guys from?
Yeah,
like you see, like when we were at Winter NAMM, there was this company behind us, and all their guitars were made out of aluminum.
Okay.
And they were just the most dangerous looking things that you could ever hold. It was just points everywhere. And I'm going, how can you, and they had like 15 models. I'm like, who are you selling these things to? I mean,
death metal.
Yeah, but
death metal.
Well, well-heeled death metal guys.
It's all like that dark Swedish metal, It's like, how are you doing here at Winter NAMM in California? Only the Swedish guys are coming by signing up for it.
I don't know.
It's amazing the amount of stuff being made these days. I mean, there's guys like Jeff who've been around for a long time. But yeah, I mean, even in Australia, we're a large nation. We cover a similar square mileage to the States, but in terms of population, there's just 22 million or so people here, and but there's builders everywhere. I guess it's the net, isn't it? Like, for example, everyone's building a boutique pedal these days.
Oh, for
and they
sure.
all sound amazing. And it's a lot of the time it's guys who are into electronics, and now the schematics are so readily available. It's easy to breadboard a fuzz face and then move on to something else and move along. So there's lots of, I guess here and I expect over your way too, there's lots of very small kind of boutique kind of guys.
Thousands of them.
Springing up and doing things.
All over the place.
Which it's actually a great thing.
Yeah.
Because, you can find every version of whatever you want. And, maybe, you don't have to pay, or you don't, how do I say it? You'll pay a little bit more, but you're getting, you may be getting very good quality parts.
Right, something that's custom.
Yeah. As opposed to buying the big name thing that was made in China because it's their version of whatever. And, and then you get it repaired 6 times and,
right.
That type of thing.
Definitely.
Spending big money
on it. If you want a special quirk, these little guys will definitely accommodate all that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it should say East on the front of it, just so you know.
Well, there should be a new wah for the holiday season.
Do you have a name for it?
Well, I'm being told it's going to have to be called the Bober Wah.
Well, there you go. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it too.
That's like the Boba Fett. Oh,
exactly.
well, there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of a whole theme thing. Yeah, the new duality amps have a Boba Fett function.
Yes.
So that's for all you Star Wars geeks.
Does that involve a MOSFET or something?
It does. It does.
Now, was that based off of that little device that you brought in that one time?
Yes.
So what that'll do is you'll sound... your guitar will all of a sudden...
it's different when it's in the amp. It's different when it's running...
Is it?
Yeah, it's different when it's running different voltages in the amp.
Oh, my God.
It's
when
crazy.
you hooked that thing up, I was like, well, Richie Blackmore just stepped into the room.
Yeah, it was because that little box was running on 9-volt, and for some reason, it wound up getting a Blackmore sound, which I should probably build that damn thing into my guitar now that I'm thinking about it. But
yeah, because I was like, he goes, this is how it went. Jeff goes, yeah, I built this little pedal. And I was like, yeah, because everybody does that.
Right.
And and he said, you got to hear this. He goes, when I plug it in, he goes, it really has that whole Blackmore sound to it. He plugged it in, and I was like, holy crap, that sounds just like Richie Blackmore's guitar.
Wow,
well, I mean, you do have to
awesome.
have a Strat and a decent amp, you know.
You were playing through that telly.
Oh, it was a telly, was it? Yeah, it wasn't a Les Paul though, because a lot of times I'd be playing a Les
yeah.
Paul, but it was a telly.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
Yeah,
I was wondering, Jeff, if you'd made pedals, so that's cool.
yeah, well, the in the Buddha days we had the boudoir, and that developed from that was brought into the product line after I had been modifying wah pedals for years. I mean, I was I developed. I developed a pedal mod and an inductor, actually, that sounded like the old phasal inductors before anybody else got into that kind of thing. I wanted to say, why did the old one sound better? And, 9 times out of 10, the answer from everybody was the inductor, So I was able to come up with the parts to emulate the old phasal inductors as best possible. And I started modifying wahs, putting those in, making a true bypass and everything. And I was doing wahs for like Steve Vai and Vernon Reed, and all those kind of people. First time I brought a wah out to Vai, it was actually at the old Hammerjacks, and I said, you want to try this? Yeah, I definitely want to try it, because he was a big wah user.
That's when he had a singer in the band.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I forget what that album was called. Okay, go ahead.
And I plugged the wah in, and before the wah was on, he just hit the guitar and went, I can hear the difference already, because it was a true bypass and there was nothing loading the signal down. And then he played it. Went, I got like a couple more right here. Can you take those and modify them? Yeah, sure. So we were doing that.
Cool.
That Morley tried to knock that off with the Bad Horsey, and they never even really got close. But
that Bad Horsey is annoying because it's like just a little bit of a delay because you got to activate the pedal.
Yeah.
And it's not a button.
Okay, yeah, it's got the auto. Yeah, I've played a couple of wahs like that. That is always kind of weird.
Yeah, and if you want to do that thing, that Michael Schenker thing,
the half cock,
you can't do it.
Park it, of course.
Yeah,
and that is a neat sound, man.
Oh, absolutely.
I tell everybody, go ahead and do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That cuts through.
You'll fall in love with mid range.
Oh yeah. And then I used to, and I know Dunlop had it out before I did it. They had a reissue way back of the Fuzz Face, but it really wasn't right at all. So I did a copy of the original Fuzz Face board.
Great.
Right after they had that, and I built some of those, and some players had those. I sold a bunch of boards to Rene Martinez, Stevie's Tech, because the boards, you can't fix those things too many times before the traces lift up. And he went, can I just buy some of the boards and rebuild Stevie's Fuzz Faces with the board? So he bought some boards for me and rebuilt Stevie's Fuzz Faces. And that was before I built the amp and the cabinets for him.
Holy crap!
That was. So yeah, I've been kind of doing it for a while.
You did a Zenwa, right? Or Zen? No, I'm sorry, a Zen. It had like a little Buddha guy on it. It was a distortion pedal, right?
The Fat Man and the Zen Man.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of that was Scott's doing, and he had. Oh my God, the name is escaping me now. Same guy that designed the Mesa similar pedal worked on that particular pedal. Yeah, now the name is escaping me. Yeah, he brought in the original what came to be known as our Fat Man pedal. You know, he brought that design in, and you know, we tweaked that a little bit, and then I took that design and then I turned that into the Zen Man and the Fat Bass. And the Fat Bass turned out to be a lot of studio guys' secret weapon. You know, they.
What was that? The Fat Bass. What was the idea there?
It was a bass overdrive pedal. Like, you know, both of them, all three of them had 212AX7s in them running at real voltages.
Oh wow!
And so yeah, there was a.
That's a pedal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pedal, all right.
Yeah, that's it. So, you know, we had the Fat Man, then we had the Zen Man, then we had the Fat Bass. And the Fat Bass, I mean, to me, once I got finished with it, you could plug that in between like your bass, and I had an old like 115 PV solid state amp in the shop that I would play through, and the tone was very SVT-ish. You know,
wow.
Plus you could get a lot more gain out of it. You could get some dirt, and you know, I love bass with dirt on it, man, because it just it's so big. You know, it adds harmonics that really need to be there for a bass to cut through a mix. You know, and that's a bass player's secret weapon, and that Fat Bass turned out to be a lot of guys' secret weapons. So
yeah, well, I always told bass players, I'm like, it doesn't have to sound like a grand piano.
Right.
Put a little hair on it.
Put a little hair on that thing. Absolutely.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised.
That was the thing, hey. Especially in the 90s, everyone's talking about that piano-like bass.
Oh, I hated that.
Just get a piano.
Exactly.
Right.
You can be replaced with a keyboard.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, a little bit of hair on bass is a good thing. I'm with you guys, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, hell, is there anything we haven't covered yet?
We've covered it, man.
This has been fun. It's been a fun chat.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Talking about the stuff.
So we want to tell everybody
what's coming up for you guys. Can I ask that?
Yeah, we got Mr. Tommy Conwell, who was had some hits in the 80s, and
Tommy Conwell, Young Rumblers.
Yeah, he's a local guy out of Philadelphia, but you know, he had a national record, and just this interview should be very interesting.
Absolutely. There's a couple guys we're keeping on the wraps because we're trying to get the calendar straighted out.
I'm locking everything up, but
yeah.
You know, we got some cool ones coming.
And then oh my God, who did I mention that we're going to sit down with next week? Hang on, let me get this here. It's in my.
You told me and I forgot. This is good pod.
It's the planning meeting.
It is.
But we want all of our listeners to go over
a guitar player that some people may know, some people may not, but guy's been around for a while and kind of very big in. I don't know whether you want to call it. It's stoner rock, sludge. I don't know when, and we'll find out what the genre actually is. But his name is Wino. And
you can't go wrong with that.
You can't, and he's kind of iconic. You know, he's been around for a while, so we should be sitting down with him next week, I think, or in 2 weeks.
Awesome.
I'm sorry, in 2 weeks.
So all of our fans, they should be checking out the Guitar Speak
podcast. Absolutely.
Yeah, learn some Australian musicians, because Australia has this knack for when bands break out of Australia. They kick major ass.
Totally.
I mean, they really do. You know, right now, AC/DC is probably playing a 180,000 seat venue, and there's no room left.
Right.
Yeah.
And I heard Cliff Williams. I heard this is it for Cliff Williams. He's done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They say when this tour's over, he's no longer doing it. So there's only going to be one original guy. It's going to be weird if he keeps it going.
Angus. Yeah.
And then they'll have to find a singer. Axl Rose cannot.
Yeah, he can't keep doing both.
No.
So who knows?
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's funny down here. Obviously, AC/DC are loved down here as well as anywhere else. And we claim them as our own. Although even the Young Brothers are, I think they're from Scotland. Originally.
Yeah.
So yeah. So and Angus lives in the Netherlands, I think, with his wife there. But Yeah, it was funny when Axl Rose started doing the gigs. There were some fans here that were very upset. And there were other fans that were kind of okay with it. And I think once they did some shows and people heard Axl in the band, a lot of people think, well, yeah, it's kind of working okay. It's going all right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I guess if Angus wants to keep going, he's got every right to keep it going.
I mean, at that point, it's almost a tribute band. Well, it's not quite a tribute band because the main guy, the main guy died decades ago, but you know.
Exactly.
I don't know. We've had this.
Bon would have been 70 years old this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
He just would have celebrated a birthday.
We've had this conversation about tribute bands before. And,
yeah.
You know, it's.
I don't know. You know, there's something about that.
As long as it doesn't turn into a parody.
Yeah, that magic that happened.
Yeah.
You know, when you break that. Now, when Brian came in, I mean, he was able to really fill a big pair of shoes.
Absolutely.
And you know, was it with that band longer than Bon?
Yes.
And, you know, now it's kind of like, you know, you don't have to prove anything.
Right.
I mean, you've kind of conquered the world.
Yeah.
You know, he just chill out and go in and like surprise people and sit in once in a while here and there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he's going to starve. You know?
No.
No,
not at all.
I think he's all right.
I think he's all right.
He's probably got a couple dollars in the bank. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if not, he's probably got a couple of Marshalls to sell.
Not just a couple.
Yeah,
maybe a couple guitars.
Maybe a couple guitars.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's easy for me. Oh, one final thing. I did speak to an old friend of yours, Gretchen Menn, the other day, who said to say hello.
Oh, nice. Love Gretchen.
Yeah.
Love Gretchen. She's a lot of
awesome.
fun.
That was cool. So I will be posting an interview with her in the next couple of weeks.
Oh,
so,
you interviewed her?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I knew, it's weird. I knew she was I knew her rock instrumental stuff, and I knew she did the Zeppelin show. So I've followed her instrumental stuff for a few years. But I don't think I'd heard your interview with her, because obviously she's got this whole background as a classical guitarist as well.
And a commercial airplane pilot.
Yeah, the pilot, yeah.
Which is mind-blowing, because when you meet Gretchen, she's a very small, just, you know, petite woman, and you're going, you fly
How do
jumbo
you control
jets?
this airplane, right? It's crazy.
It's almost hard to...
Yeah,
I just can't even picture her in the uniform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could you imagine being... Here's something for you.
I was going to say something. I'm not even going to say it because it would just come off as
Imagine being sitting
demeaning.
in your seat on Southwest, and here comes Gretchen, and she goes up into the cockpit, and you're like, hey, what the hell are you doing?
I just assumed it was a Steve Morse thing, because, you know, she's a big Steve Morse fan, so I just assumed, you know, she just followed right along. You know, the Music Man, the alternate picking.
You never know, man.
Playing.
That could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Anyway.
Did you see
but
the...
yeah, she was awesome. She was cool, and she had great things to say about you guys.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Well, right back at her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's a great girl.
I bend her ear all the time.
Speaking of Steve Morse, did you see the version, the jazz version of the Smoke on the Water they posted? It's awesome. I love it.
It's pretty cool. You got to see that.
I haven't heard that. What's that about?
Oh man,
it's Deep Purple.
Can we put the link on the Amps and Axes, and that way he can find it?
We can totally put it up there
on the Facebook.
Yep.
Cool.
No, actually,
so it's actually Deep Purple doing it.
Oh yeah,
we'll put it up on the website.
Oh, we'll put it up on the website. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this version of Deep Purple. So Steve Morse is in Deep Purple.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the current version.
Yes.
Of Deep Purple, but
it looks like a really.
It's the atrium of
old bunch of guys.
Yeah, but they're in this like glass atrium of some
it's kind of weird,
like
isn't it?
Office building or motel or hotel or something.
Doing a very different version of Smoke on the Water.
It's pretty cool. We'll put it up.
I definitely will.
So
nice.
All right, Matt. Well, hey, man, thank you very much. It was so much fun talking to Tomorrow.
yes, and reliving yesterday.
That's reliving yesterday. There we go.
Awesome. Really great to talk to you guys. It's a little bit surreal because I hear you guys in my headphones at home, but you're not talking to me. So This has been really fun.
Well, there you go. Right back at you. I haven't heard you in our headphones yet, except for today. But I'll go check it out.
I've listened to a couple of his episodes.
Oh, cool.
Well, I had to check it out. I'm
like, that's right.
Who are these people he's talking to?
Due diligence.
And how do I get a hold of them?
Right. There you go.
The problem is I make a phone call and it costs us $400.
Been there. Martin.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
Yes, it was.
For me, that was a huge icon.
You just got to pay the money and move on.
That's it. Wow. So, all right, Matt.
Martin Barr, yeah, that was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that was very good. That was very good. All right, Matt. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and go grab your second cup of coffee, and we're going to go grab dinner.
Yeah,
and we'll Mick will let you know. This will be up this weekend,
will be
right?
up this Saturday. Your Sunday.
Right, your Sunday.
Okay,
so
cool.
There you go.
And depending upon when.
Looking forward to it's cool. That'd be great. And also, keep in touch. Let us know if East ends up really East in Australia, and we'll love to check it out and definitely give it a plug on our show too. So
for sure,
keep in touch, fellas.
Absolutely. And
that's a hell of a road trip.
Let us know if there's anybody there that you think we should have on.
Yeah, we'll do for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Very good. All right, Matt. Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye now.
And there you have the story.
From Australia.
From Australia.
How about that?
From tomorrow. Tomorrow's news today.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, he reached out.
Down under.
And
up from down under. There we go.
Yeah, and we'll probably do this a couple more times with other guys because this is how it works.
Absolutely.
Man.
But you know what the funny thing was?
What's that?
The quality of that was so much better than trying to do a cast in Northern California.
What the hell is going on?
I don't know. That was crazy.
That's enough to piss off the Pope. I'm telling you, because we have had nightmares trying to talk to Northern California.
Yeah.
Travis Larson, Gretchen, Angeline Saris, and what was her name? Jennifer, the bassist for Travis, Jennifer. Oh God, what was her name?
I don't know. I keep thinking Jennifer Batten, but
no, not Jennifer Batten. It was Jennifer.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We're talking 3,000 miles away, and we can't get a signal.
Right.
We just talk to the other side of the earth for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's. I don't know.
Without a glitch.
Technology, not even one. Technology is a wonderful thing when it works.
I'm sure at some point we were bouncing off a satellite or something.
Or two. Who knows? That's more than a little curvature of the Earth. There's probably 2 satellites involved there, and it was flawless.
I don't know.
Flawless. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll call Down Under again because it's just better than Northern California.
We're going to have to start interviewing Australians.
There you go. There you go. I'm sure we will because Matt will.
There you go.
Turn us on to some names and we'll get them on. So for sure.
Hello,
Matt.
Australia.
Hello, Australia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So until next time, my friend.
When it's at least this good.
Or the next day. I'm Mick Marcelino.
That's right. And I'm still in yesterday. I'm Jeff Bober.
And we're always saying,
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.